Hello guys, my name's Aaliyah, and I heard that we're bringing 2016 to 2026. The thing that I used to like doing in 2016 was watching Shane Dawson conspiracy theory videos, so I thought I would bring that back and make a conspiracy theory video. Today we're going to be talking about the real life Stranger Things, also known as the Montauk Project. Also, if you see me look this way, I wrote down stuff that I don't want to forget on my computer, because there's a lot of stuff and I can't remember everything. So interestingly, the Duffer Brothers were going to originally name Stranger Things Montauk. Before we begin, I would like to say that all of this stuff is alleged and it is a conspiracy theory. This is a story of psychic research, time travel, and children experiments. To start, we have to go back to 1943 to the Philadelphia experiment. The U.S. Navy conducted classified experiments aboard the USS Eldridge. The goal of this experiment was to achieve radar invisibility using unified field theory. This experiment allegedly took place on October 28, 1943. Witnesses claimed that when the equipment was activated, a green fog emerged and engulfed the ship. It then completely vanished. It reappeared briefly in Virginia, roughly 200 miles away, and then returned to Philadelphia minutes later. So allegedly, instead of disappearing from the radar, it just disappeared in general. But when the ship returned, the people were not the same as when they left. Some people were merged into the decks of the boat, some people dead, and others gone crazy, and some just disappeared in general. This experiment was never repeated. While there is no actual evidence of this experiment, there was a man named Carl Allen who allegedly saw it all. The Navy denies all of these allegations, and there are no records. Now we're going to skip forward about 30 or so years. There was a coastal defense site with a giant radar tower and an underground bunker. This site is called Camp Hero State Park. This is where the Montauk Project allegedly took place. Now before we get into that, we need to talk about a person named Preston Nichols. Preston Nichols was an electrical engineer living on Long Island who became interested in electromagnetic research and radio technology. In the early 1980s, according to his later statements, he started experiencing unusual memories and psychological phenomena that he could not explain. These symptoms led him to seek professional help, where he then received suppressed memories of working at Camp Hero between 1971 to 1983. He claimed he was working on a classified project involving mind control, electromagnetic manipulation, and eventually time travel, conducted in the underground bunkers. In 1992, Nichols co-authored a book called The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, with Peter Moon. This book became the foundation for this conspiracy theory. Usually, the project was divided into several phases. The initial phase took place between 71 and 73. The purpose of this phase was mind control. The main goal was to use radio waves to influence human thoughts and behaviors. The project was a continuation of CIA projects such as MKUltra, but they used electromagnetic technology instead of drugs. Now, the second phase started in 74. This focused on the Montauk chair, which was a chair surrounded by electromagnetic coils, specifically 3 sets of delta T coils, arranged in a triangle around where the subject would sit. The chair also had a helmet that was lined with sensors and coils. The purpose was psychic amplification. Their theory was that thoughts produce electromagnetic signals, but weak signals. So if these signals could be detected, they could then be amplified and broadcasted. The thoughts could then manifest physical events. One being thought materialization, which is where the subject is in the chair and he would think of an object and it would appear. Another was mind projection. Their consciousness would be projected to a different location and they could see what was going on, miles away or even in different time zones, with their bodies still in the chair. And the third was time portal generation, the most advanced technique. The subject focuses on a specific time and place while in the chair, and the equipment could supposedly generate a time vortex. In the late 70s, Nichols claimed that researchers needed more physically gifted subjects, which led to the Montauk Boy program. They would use these young teenage boys aged 10 to 16. These boys were recruited and some even abducted from local areas. These boys were chosen because younger minds were more physically malleable and they could be more easily trained or programmed. These boys were subjected to intensive psychological conditions as well as electromagnetic exposure as well as trauma-based programming designed to enhance physical abilities. These boys were allegedly sent to different points in times through portals. Some never returned, others returned with trauma or missing memories. After these experiments concluded, they were returned to their normal lives with no recollection of what happened due to memories being erased. Now we're going to talk about the primary boy they used in the late 70s, Duncan Cameron. Now remember that name because we will come back to him later. He had exceptional psychic abilities. He could generate time portals more reliably than other subjects. Researchers and military personnel would drive through these portals. Duncan claimed that he was sent to these different historical points to gather info and objects, such as Egyptian scrolls and maps from the Civil War. The Montauk Project came to an end in 1983 due to an incident involving Duncan and the Montauk chair. Although Camp Hero was closed in 1981, military vehicles were still seen coming in and out of there. On August 12, 1983, routine portal experiment, Duncan accidentally, or intentionally, through his ability, manifested an aggressive, massive creature while in the chair. The creature began to destroy equipment and attack personnel. The creature supposedly couldn't be controlled or eliminated through conventional means because it was sustained by Duncan's thoughts as long as he was in this chair. The only way to stop it was to shut down the entire system. Nichols and other technicians began destroying transmitter, causing the portals to close and the creature to vanish. This shut down and ended the Montauk Project. Now you're probably wondering, Aaliyah, how does this Philadelphia experiment have anything to do with this Montauk experiment? And I'm going to get into that. Now, in the late 80s, a man named Al Bleck began appearing at UFO conferences and paranormal gatherings, claiming that he was a survivor of the Philadelphia experiment, and he lived decades without knowing his true identity. He believed his memories were implanted by the government to cover up his real past, and he was originally named Edward Cameron, and in 1943, at age 16, he served aboard USS Eldridge alongside his brother, no other than the boy from the Montauk Project, Duncan Cameron. Now, Edward claimed that the ship didn't just become invisible and vanish. It ripped a hole in space-time. Once Edward and Duncan realized something was wrong, they jumped overboard to try to escape, but instead they fell through a time vortex. They allegedly landed in the year 2137 in an underground hospital facility where they were being treated for radiation and temporal displacement. Authorities then sent them to 2749. They lived there for 2 years before they were supposedly sent back to 1943 to stop the Philadelphia experiments from ever happening, but instead they landed in the time of the Montauk Project instead. Now, generators from the Philadelphia experiments were connected at Camp Hero, creating a time lock. Edward and Duncan helped deactivate this equipment, which was Duncan conjuring the creature, leading to the equipment being destroyed. After this, Edward's memories were erased and his identity was changed. He lived his fake life until the late 80s when his memories began resurfacing. While no evidence was ever found to back any of these claims, Duncan Cameron did come forward aligning his story with Nichols and Plex. And that is the conspiracy of the Montauk Project. Thank you so much for watching, and comment below what kind of videos I should do next.